Hey guys, Jim here. Another review for you today. Continuing review week, taking a look at Trifox. Now, this was announced during the Guerrilla Collective 2021 E3. I picked this game because it had a fun, bright, cool aesthetic to it. And I honestly thought maybe something like this would be a lot of fun to play. It definitely lives up to its description that it is a twin-stick action-adventure set in a colorful world inspired by classic platformers. I definitely get a lot of vibes in here from other games, most notably Crash Bandicoot. It has a very Crash feel to me, I think, particularly the way the camera is situated. And it's just got a cute aesthetic. So I said, what the heck, let's give it a whirl, let's try it out. And here's my thoughts on it. So it's fun. It's not great, but it's fun. And I think that that's all we could really ask for in a game. You play as one of 3 different types of foxes. I am playing in this particular playthrough with the ranged class. There is a melee class, and then there's a kind of sort of hybrid class. You use the left analog stick to move your character, use the right analog stick to aim, and then you hold down the trigger to let it rip. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I do have some different abilities that allow me to, either set, for this particular character, it was to create a temporary wall to kind of funnel enemies in a certain direction, to drop a landmine, or to use a flame turret. So, would I say that the greatest abilities? Not really, and I don't really feel, honestly, they impacted combat as much as I would want them to. I'll talk more about balancing in a little bit, but suffice to say, this game is an alpha, so keep that in mind. It is in an alpha, kind of early access state. There are things that are absolutely subject to change, and I think balancing is going to be a big one. In terms of like the actual gameplay and everything, it's fun. I don't know if there's much of a story associated with it. A lot of times in these games, they just throw you right into the action because they don't want to bore you with a lot of exposition or anything like that. So in this particular game, you play as just a fox running around, destroying and shooting just about everything in your path because game. That's really all you need to know. If there is a greater narrative or world to it, maybe we'll find out about it later. It doesn't really seem important because I think a majority of this game is going to be on that gameplay, and if they don't nail it, you don't really care what the story is. And in terms of actually did they nail the gameplay, I think it's fun. I really do. I like twin stick shooters. It seems lately more often than not we're getting back into these top-down pixel art type games that just are intentionally designed to have a very graphical aesthetic that isn't cartoony and pretty and fun like this. This, to me, does have a high level of polish graphically, from the little smoke plumes when the guys are shooting at you to the way that they kind of explode and pop, the way that the coins burst out of their bodies, and even just everything around it just feels like a cartoon. The music is bright and chirpy and fun, and it just seems like it's like a chill game, right? It doesn't seem like it's trying too hard to have this edgy or retro aesthetic. It went with a certain style, and I think it does it very well. All the enemies that I experienced were, different in size and shape, and the boss fight at the end there was very different than anything else, and it was cool. Was there puzzles in here? I mean, not really. It's flip a lever, stand on a switch, something like that. I don't really know how a game like this would have that, although I do appreciate them trying to break up some of the monotony of just walking around and just shooting round after round after round into waves and waves and waves of enemies. And it does get a little bit monotonous. Again, this was just the open level here, but wow, some of these levels, I understand it's almost like kind of a horde mode, I guess. Like you're going to hold out until a certain objective or a timer or meter is filled, whatever. But man, oh man, am I shooting just waves and waves of crabs, and it loses its fun very, very rapidly. One of the things that I struggled with a lot, particularly with this character class, is the tracking on my gun was not very good. So if you remember back to like the original Doom, I'm talking the original Doom back on PC back in like the 80s or early 90s, whenever that game came out, right? Do you remember how you didn't have to aim up or down? You just aimed left or right. And the Doom guy would automatically adjust his terrain, like he would adjust his gun up or down based on the terrain that would allow you to hit targets. I feel like that system is actually more robust than this one. Just to tell you how unhappy I was with my particular choice of playing with this ranged character. You will see time and time again what my character chooses to shoot at is not always, I think, the most accurate. Not accurate. It is not the most threatening target at the time. A lot of times I will completely shoot over an enemy's head to the point that I have to back up considerably to get a shot off because there is no melee in the game. At least on this character class, I can't whack them. Even if it's super low, even if like I'm shooting for 4 damage a bullet, even if it feels like a 1 damage swing, not having that really hurts this game. And you'll see it time and time again. I have to constantly fly away from everybody and turn around and shoot back. And I feel like I'm kiting every single enemy in the game. And while the little mechanics of flying the helicopter are kind of fun and it does get you kind of moving around a little bit faster in the map, it's just kind of silly that you can't shoot things right in front of you. This is a really big oversight, and I hope one that can be easily fixed, but I feel like the game just wants to it doesn't understand what you are shooting at, despite the fact there's an enemy right in your face. So you have to fly away, you have to stay at range constantly. And because of, I mentioned earlier, because of the balancing, you do have a lot of instances where you're not doing a whole lot of damage. I mean, you saw me back there and you're seeing me do it just constantly. Now, I'm only shooting for 4 damage a bullet. I don't know how much enemy health these characters have, but when I have to find like a power-up crate, I know there's these wooden crates or barrels that are laying around that I try to pick up and utilize, you know, get items or health potions or whatever. I shouldn't have to stand there and shoot that crate for 4 or 5 seconds to break it open. So that's why I'd say that the balancing is very, very inconsistent right now, and it needs to be addressed. Thankfully, this particular character does have that flame turret, although it gets destroyed almost instantly because it's just so many crabs shooting at you, but it does help out. You can kind of put a wall. The AI pathing isn't the best. If you put a wall right in the middle of the path, typically they don't try to squirt around it one at a time. They stop and go around the entire perimeter of the map, which is useful at times because it gives you a new firing range, also kind of lets you catch your breath a little bit. But it's kind of silly, and I think it is counterintuitive to what the pathing should be. The whole point of a game like this, where you're able to build walls and turrets and bombs, is to absolutely flank and to pour enemies into very, very specific paths where you can shoot at them, kind of like a tower defense game. And unfortunately, the way the pathing works in this game is it doesn't always happen. And you're just standing there on a blank screen and you hear hordes and hordes of enemies coming at you, and you're just patiently waiting because you know any second you're going to have to jump on the other side of the wall that you just made and then kind of like shoot as they loop all the way back around again. And it does get pretty monotonous very quickly. Despite a lot of the negative stuff for the game, you know, I think it has some fun stuff going for it. I get it. It's an indie game. I think they spent a significant amount of time polishing the aesthetic. Very clearly built in Unity. It's got a lot of that Unity kind of asset and Unity vibe to it, but it looks good and it runs really, really well. I was playing on my big computer, my 2080 Ti. Of course, I didn't anticipate to expect any graphical slowdowns. I didn't get them at all. So I would honestly be shocked if this game did not run at 60 frames a second or greater on your rig, unless you're running something really, really, really old. And while it does support keyboard and mouse, they do recommend, and in my experience, I do agree, it's best to play with a controller. So, yeah, fun little experience. I think it's got some good charm going for it. You know, I just don't know, in a game, in a sphere of games that are all twin-stick shooters, you know, who is this really going to appeal to? And I guess it's going to be more of like a kids-type game because it's simple, fun, and cute. I feel like, you know, like a Super Lucky Tail type game where it's like little cartoons. Doesn't really feel threatening on any sense. But I don't really know if the developers took a big chance on this game either. I mean, you kind of hit all the tropes. You got the cartoon level to it. You got the cute little animal. You got the ranged class. You got the melee class. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be more to this game. I don't know what that would be. but I feel like there needs to be more to this game. Last thing I'll say is a negative towards the graphics, and then I'll close out this video, is for whatever reason when the terrain, and you see it especially now as I'm moving around rapidly, backpedaling again because I can't shoot anything directly in front of me, you'll see a lot of times the terrain around me seems to kind of vanish and redraw itself. This game, although I do like the camera angle, it has too much foliage in the center and on the periphery to give you an accurate depiction of the battlefield, for lack of a better word. There's a lot of times enemies are just completely behind cover and I can't even see them. I'm just shooting and sometimes damage numbers will appear, or I'm just shooting off screen and I can hear them like moaning and groaning in death. So I have a feeling that, oh, okay, there is an enemy around the next corner, whatever. But the problem is when you have a game like this that doesn't outline characters, and we see this a lot in games like Diablo or Torchlight 3, when you're not outlining the enemy characters that you are about to fight that are off screen, you don't know where they are. In a game like this, particularly with a ranged class, not really sure how much that matters, honestly. You're just going to be shooting. You have infinite ammo anyway, so you're just probably never going to let your finger off the trigger unless you're moving. So it probably doesn't really matter, you know, kind of what you are shooting at. But in terms of gameplay and in terms of aesthetics, it is a little weird that there are enemies that could be right in front of you that you can't see. And to couple that with the fact that I have that ranged class, that I'm shooting enemies directly in front of me, I don't even know what's happening. So I think it could use a little bit of work in that department as well. This boss fight's a pretty simple boss fight. He spawns waves of enemies. You know, finally, once you kill them all, you do get a couple seconds to shoot at the boss. Not too much advanced stuff here. He just sprays a jet of water across the screen. Very, very easy to use your helicopter to fly over, and then with that, the demo is done. So, is this a good game? It's fun. I don't think it's for me, but I saw the Guerrilla Collective. I do appreciate what they do. I wanted to show them some support and love and say, let me kind of look at what I think one of their flagship showcase games may be. And this was one that seemed to rise to the top very, very quickly. So if you like this kind of game, it is free to play right now on Steam. The demo is available. I don't know if it's going to be coming to console or anything later on. Most of these games are directly to PC for now, with maybe future Switch ports or whatever. But if you're looking for a simple, cute, little fun, mindless shooter or a brawler, depending on what character class you pick, you may want to check this game out. I hope you guys found this video review informative. Leave some comments below if you have anything you want to ask me or anything you think about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.